Hello, dear viewers, and welcome to a new episode of the Daily Debate. I'm your host for tonight, Muhammad Abdurrahim. And on the 31st of October of each year, the globe celebrates World Cities Day, which brings Urban October to an end. And that was first celebrated in the year 2014. As with World Habitat Day, a global observance is held in a different city each year, and the day focuses on a specific theme. On the 31st of October 2024, today or tonight now, a global observance of World Cities Day is held under the theme Youth Leading Climate and Local Action for Cities. That will be the main topic for tonight. We are delighted to have with us here in the studio Professor of Economics and Economic Consultant, Dr. Amr Hamid. Dr. Hamid, pleasure having you with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Allow us first to begin with our top stories for the night. Top story for the night, as His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received William Burns, the Director of the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, this in the presence of Mr. Hassan Rashad, the Director of the General Intelligence Service. The meeting on Thursday discussed the latest developments and the joint efforts to calm the situation in the Gaza Strip, ways to advance negotiations to reach a ceasefire and exchange detainees, as well as immediate and full access to humanitarian aid, and as a top priority for Egypt in light of the deteriorating humanitarian conditions in the Gaza Strip. In this context, the President stressed the importance of the pivotal role played by UNRWA and the need not to obstruct its work. The importance of implementing the two-state solution was also emphasized as a path to achieving peace and security in the region. The official spokesman for the presidency stated that the meeting also addressed the situation in Lebanon, as well as the recent mutual escalations in the region. President Sisi stressed the importance of the urgent need to reach a ceasefire in Lebanon in a way that preserves its sovereignty and territorial integrity and protects its stability and the security of its brotherly people and the security of the region at large. The President also warned of the dangers of continued escalation at the regional level, which has serious repercussions on all peoples of the region. All right, so this is World Cities Day, the 31st of October. In the company of Dr. Amr Hamid, the Professor of Economics and Economic Consultant. I'll take your permission again. And dear viewers also, first to watch a report about the main topic for tonight, and then we'll come back and start our discussion.
The global observance of World Cities Day 2024 is held under the theme Youth Climate Change Makers, Catalyzing Local Action for Urban Sustainability. This event highlights the pivotal role of local governments and young people in advocating for and taking bold measures and actions to address the climate crisis in cities. It aims to spotlight innovative ideas and ambitious yet implementable targets proposed by youth and explore pathways to translate these into tangible actions. It seeks to harness the energy and commitment of youth towards building resilient and sustainable cities for all. With urban areas projected to accommodate 70% of the global population by 2050, cities face unprecedented challenges, particularly in the context of climate change. In cities worldwide, youth represent a significant demographic, with their voices and actions pivotal in shaping urban futures. It has been estimated that 60% of the world's population will live in cities by 2030. And that as many as 60% of urban dwellers will be under the age of 18. Despite progress towards the SDGs, urban areas continue to grapple with poverty, inequality, and environmental degradation, necessitating urgent and transformative actions. In the Global South, These challenges are often more pronounced due to rapid urbanization, limited infrastructure and insufficient resources. Cities in these regions frequently face severe housing shortages, inadequate access to clean water and sanitation, and higher vulnerability to climate-related disasters. Youth in these areas are particularly affected, experiencing high levels of unemployment and limited educational opportunities. Therefore, addressing the unique needs and leveraging the potential of young people in the Global South is crucial for achieving sustainable urban development and mitigating the impacts of climate change. Engaging youth meaningfully in urban decision-making processes is essential for fostering inclusive and resilient cities. By empowering and enabling young people to participate actively, cities can tap into their creativity, innovation, and commitment to drive sustainable development. Moreover, involving youth in policymaking ensures that urban strategies reflect their aspirations and concerns, leading to a more effective and equitable future.
Welcome back. Thank you very much, Abir Hussein and Manal Al-Ibyari and Rasha Abdul Hamid for this report. We're back in the studio. Dr. Amr Hamid, the economic consultant, professor of economics. So, World Cities Day, Dr. Hamid, how do you see the idea itself? There is something, for instance, called Earth Day, we know, sponsored by the United Nations. But World Cities Day, how do you see it?
The idea is that two main aspects are very important when we speak about world cities. Number one is that there is a big tendency now in the whole world to go towards urban life. So to the extent that we expect that by 2030 that about 60 to 70% of the population in general are going to be urban dwellers. So this is something
worldwide.
Worldwide.
And then this would be the highest percentage, I believe, since the creation of mankind.
Exactly, exactly. So this is why it's very important now to start doing all these studies about how urban life could be tackled from different perspectives that we're going to speak about it in more details within the next 15 or 20 minutes.
Right.
That's number one. Number two is, which is very important, is that we speak about 2030, which is 5-6 years from now, and then 30 till 2040. So we're speaking about something very important, which is the youth, the young people, because we're speaking of the future. We can, of course, take example from Egypt, and more specifically from Alexandria, because the whole event is taking place in Alexandria, which I just happen to be born in Alexandria, so I can elaborate a lot when we speak about Alexandria as an example of all these this issue in general. So the other very important aspect is the youth and how we can elaborate in that respect. If you want, because as you know, my background is economics, so I will try to emphasize more or less on the economic aspect of modern cities and what we can do for the youth in general.
Right. Yes, please proceed.
Yeah, to elaborate in this direction, there is something called modern economics, which means what are the new fields in economics that have become like in fashion the last 10-15 years. So if we speak about modern economics, in this respect, let me emphasize some of the fields from economic, subfields of economics that are going in the direction of urban life, cities or new cities, and young people, what we can do. Number one, from my if I want to put them in perspective, then I would say number one is something called a field of economics called environmental economics. It's very important. And in this, we're speaking about examining economic impacts on the environment, promoting sustainable practices, pollution control, and the valuation of natural resources.
Yes.
To touch upon two aspects of the use, because again I'm trying to emphasize, and actually the conference is emphasizing so much on the use.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the theme.
Exactly. So we have another field that developed a lot lately. It's an old field, by the way, of economics, which we call labor economics. That's another very important field that investigates employment dynamics, wages, and the workforce, analyzing factors that influence labor markets, productivity, and worker rights in general. Another aspect also that touches upon the youth again is what we call behavioral economics. And behavioral economics integrates psychology to understand how biases, emotions, and cognitive limitations affect economic decisions in general. We can also speak about health economics, which is very much, and when I say health economics, this is one of the main challenges of a country like Egypt, because as you know, our main two challenges, not only from an economics perspective, from a general country
perspective, to develop education and health.
Exactly, exactly. This is it, education and health. And let me elaborate quickly on this. What is the percentage of the government budget in Egypt that goes to education? How much is the percentage? I'm speaking percentage-wise, not absolute terms. And how much is the percentage that goes to health, education and health? You will realize something that, the policymaker, it's very easy. Just compare the percentage, not the volume, not the absolute, the percentage to any country like Egypt or a little bit bigger than Egypt in the whole world. You will be shocked. The percentage that goes to health and to education is very, very trivial compared to what it is supposed to be. And please don't speak to me about absolute and you tell me we are 110 million and so on. No.
It's natural to see the absolute value increase because of the increase of the population, because of the devaluation of the pound, because there are many reasons that make it easy for the absolute value to go up, but of course the percentage is that's understood.
The percentage will catch the policymaker and will tell him, come on, we quote you there, please.
Percentage of the budget.
Exactly, raise the percentage.
So what's the multiplying factor that we need to reach the required percentage?
We're very far. Even if you double it, we still need much more. Yeah, we speak about below 5%, it should be above 10%, 15% maybe.
We're talking about the triple.
Exactly, yeah. But let's go step by step.
Right.
I don't expect jumps, okay? Because at the end of the day, the Egyptian economy is not a stallion. So, we can just go in...
a very important point that you touched upon, Dr. Hamid. Behavioral economics, I want to stay with this because it's very interesting, and I think you said that health economics is very important to Egypt. Let me pose this to you. I think also behavioral economics, because a lot of things that happen in our country, the behavior of the consumer and the behavior of the producer, the merchant, I don't know. I feel that the psychology and the behavior that reacts to like international crises, that reacts to any development is very, very important and controls and dictates a lot of things that happen on the ground. So what do you think?
Yeah, it's, well, we have a field which is a subfield, not of economics, but of management, which is called OB, Organization Behavior. And what is it? What is it all about? You just said it now. Organization behavior is all about psychology in business. So when we speak about behavioral economics, we speak about psychology for the economy as a whole. Of course, it's very important. And we, in universities, for example, we teach this course to any student that goes into studying business administration or management. So the idea is how to maximize now I'm speaking microeconomics, not macroeconomics, which means an organization, a multinational bank, if you want. The idea is how to maximize the productivity of your organization, which means at the end of the day, when you maximize productivity, it should be translated into maximizing profitability, hopefully, through emphasizing and focusing on the behavior, on the psychological part of all the stakeholders of the organization, which means the shareholders, of course, the employees, management, customers, suppliers, and the general public that is affected by this organization. So this is
a chain. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. By studying what? By studying the psychology of each and every one of these. Very quickly, an example, because if we're going to go into behavior, we need maybe 2 or 3 sessions. The idea, let's speak, for example, about the behavior of your consumer. Okay, how can you reach different level of consumers via studying their behavior? For example, am I concentrating while I'm selling on men or ladies, young people or older people? You should study their behavior in order to be able to reach them. Region, my product, is it more appealing to urban or to rural? So this is just to give you a very quick idea about what we're speaking about.
Is it more a want or a need, maybe also?
Of course, of course.
Dr. Hamid, so youth leading climate and local action for cities is the theme of the Alexandria event. How do you see the theme itself? I mean, it's about climate, combating global warming. It's about, combating climate change.
If you
protecting
want,
the environment.
let's take Alexandria as an example, because as I told you, do you mind if we just take Alexandria as an example?
I mean, Alexandria is...
I happen to fall in love with Alexandria.
Alexandria is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. I mean...
It was. Okay. I've seen Alexandria when it was really one of the most beautiful cities on earth. That's very true.
Your generation loves Alexandria. I know many people from your generation, including my father, that believe that Alexandria is the most beautiful city in the world.
Yeah, of course, with very due respect to your father and to my generation, but we have seen Alexandria when it was really one of the, they used to call it the pearl of the Mediterranean.
Right.
Yeah, but let's put our emotions aside. Let's go back to something tangible about Alexandria. From a tangible standpoint, Alexandria represents to the whole world, not only to people that love Alexandria, something very important, because it's the link of all. Let's speak from a European perspective, for example.
Alexander the Great. I mean, it's enough.
Well, yes, now you quote me. Now you know where I'm going.
This is
exactly. It's the link between the different civilizations. Why? Because if you go back to studying civilization, and this is important to the youth also. I'm still catching the youth. I don't want to lose the line of the youth and their importance in our discussion tonight. They should know what is going on. What is Alexandria is the link between the civilizations, because if you speak about the Roman civilization,
the Greek,
and the Greek, thank you very much, and Byzantine civilization, it all started in Alexandria. Plato studied in Alexandria. Aristotle was in Alexandria. Even Pythagoras was in Alexandria. We're speaking about the basics of two very important fields in the whole world, philosophy and mathematics.
Right.
Philosophy and mathematics. And both of them, they started in Alexandria. And let's not forget, philosophy is the mother of all sciences.
Right.
I mean, when you get a PhD in medicine, what do you get? You get a PhD, which is the highest level. When you get a PhD in engineering,
it's also called a PhD.
It's a philosophy doctorate of medicine, philosophy doctorate of mathematics, of economics. Why do we call it philosophy? PhD stands for philosophy doctorate of whatever.
Right.
Why? Because philosophy is the mother of all sciences, and the root somehow will be related to Alexandria. So the beginning of civilization is more or less, whether we do like it or not, it started somewhere in Alexandria. And believe it or not, this is in the back mind of Europeans. Europeans would love, exactly, Europeans would love to come, and so this is this is why it's a rich history and strategy.
Well, Egypt is so rich. I mean, the biggest or most ancient civilization of the pharaonic civilization, and then you have this a civilization that came later, a little bit later.
Yeah.
And you had Alexandria, the cornerstone or the meeting point of all
exactly.
big civilizations at the time.
And of course you can relate this to tourism and the importance of all this. Something else very important, if we speak again about the conference and Alexandria, which is another important field of economics, which we call blue economy. The blue economy is anything that is related to the seas and the oceans, and how you can sort of elaborate. It's a given coastal location of Alexandria, for example. It has a strong potential in the blue economy, including fisheries, aquaculture, renewable marine energy, which is very important, like offshore wind or wave energy, investing in sustainable marine resources and technology. This could provide, no doubt, employment and long-term economic benefits back to the youth. And the importance of blue economy to the youth, to the welfare of the youth, especially as marine resources are managed, responsibility to avoid overfishing and environmental degradation. So,
yes, Dr. Hamid, staying with Alexandria, I'm sure that the Bibliotheca Alexandrina is, translates what you were saying, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the existence of that huge, rich bibliothèque in the historic city of Alexandria means a lot to the world and emphasizes how important Alexandria is to world history.
Of course, Bibliotheca Alexandrina, or Library of Alexandria, comes on top of some other very important spots like Qaitbay, Citadel, and the remnants of ancient Alexandria. As you know, we're still looking for a lot of other monuments even that might be underwater.
Yes.
The city has strong tourism potential. Coastal tourism could be further enhanced with investment in infrastructure, including high-end resorts, cultural sites, and ecotourism initiatives. Additionally, expanding into areas like underwater archaeology could attract niche tourism focused on Egypt's ancient history. This is from a history tourism perspective.
Yes,
course,
Dr. Ham. The World Cities Day is part of the Egyptian state's preparations to host the World Urban Forum. The World Urban Forum is the second largest event on the United Nations agenda. The 12th session will be in Cairo during the period from the 4th to the 8th of November. So this upcoming week. How do you see this event?
That's what we call, I mean, in our language as economists, we call it development economics and urban economics. It analyzes the economic aspects of developing nations, exploring ways to improve standards of living, alleviate poverty, and support sustained growth in general. If I'm going to speak about this, then also in urban and regional economics, it focuses on special aspects, studying the economic growth and issues related to cities and regions, such as housing, transportation, and local development. We should also emphasize here something very important, which is environmental. The environmental part and the ecological part, which examines economic impacts on the environment and promoting sustainable practices, pollution control, and the valuation of natural resources in general.
Especially that, as you mentioned, I mean, 60 or 70% of the world will be living in urban areas, and urban areas, are affected more by the global warming, by the climate change. And at a time when we are supposed to protect the earth we live on, it's very important to have our hands you know, to stay one hand in fighting against this phenomenon.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and yeah, from my understanding, I think that we should be very strict when it comes to the environment and the impact of pollution on the environment, especially when you live in the big cities, and there are a lot of negative effects on the environment just from simply living in a big city. If we're going to go into this direction, then something also very important is how to get rid of the standard vehicles and try to emphasize more on the EV.
Clean energy.
Exactly. I mean, vehicle, automotive industry, and all these developments that are taking place nowadays in promoting the electrical vehicles in general, which is something very important for a country like Egypt, of course.
Indeed. Dr. Hamid, dear viewers, allow us to watch another report, please, about our topic for tonight. Then we'll come back and continue our discussion with the Professor of Economics and Economic Consultant, Dr. Amr Hamid. Please stay with us.
Through the path for the future and the Declaration on Future Generations, the imperative is to establish frameworks that prioritize the voices of youth and future generations, ensuring their active participation in shaping sustainable urban landscapes. The Pact for the Future aims to strengthen the multilateral system to address current and future challenges, explicitly recognizing the crucial role of youth and future generations. This commitment is reflected in the Declaration on Future Generations, which seeks to safeguard the rights and interests of those yet to be born by promoting long-term responsible decision-making. As the UN prepares for the Summit of the Future, these frameworks will be critical in shaping their discussions and outcomes. The Summit of the Future is an opportunity to integrate youth perspectives into global policy, ensuring that the multilateral system is responsive to the needs and aspirations of the younger generation. By adopting these frameworks at the summit, the UN is committed to creating pathways for young people to influence urban policies and strategies actively. This includes establishing youth councils, integrating youth representatives into local government bodies, and ensuring continuous dialogue between young people and policymakers. These actions will help build cities that are not only sustainable and resilient, but also reflective of the diverse voices and needs of all their inhabitants, present and future. World Cities Day, WCD, is held right before the World Urban Forum 12, WUF 12 in Cairo. This event will energize youth to engage actively in World Urban Forum 12. As part of the agenda, the Youth Forum will tackle many of these pressing challenges. The discussions and outcomes from the Youth Forum will feed directly into the declaration and outcome document of WUF 12, shaping the Future Cities Forum and ensuring that youth perspectives are integral to urban planning and policy decisions.
Thank you again, Manal Al-Ebiari, for this report, and welcome back. Of course, Alexandria's hosting of the event comes 3 years after Luxor had hosted World Cities Day in 2021. Now, Alexandria is a coastal city, Dr. Hamid, so just a question here about the marine aspects, if you will, of urban development, and how important is it for Egypt and for a city that has big coastal lines, and for a city like Alexandria to abide by marine aspects?
This is a very interesting question, and I think it's very much up to date, because as you know, the focus of our government lately is all on mega coastal projects. If we speak about the North Coast, for example, and Ras Al Hikma, and now we're speaking about Ras Banas, and we're speaking about developing some coastal big cities in Sharm el-Sheikh, for example, also in collaboration with neighboring countries as well. So that's why your question is really the key question now. So in this case, if you allow me, let's not only speak about Alexandria, but speak about coastal cities, urban cities throughout Egypt in general, which could be taken and applied even to other countries if you want. So it's, as I said, it's all related to what we call blue economy, and there are ways which, again, I always say economics connects with marine aspects. So number one is...
Everything connects with the economy. Everything.
Unfortunately, yeah, it's...
Well, I guess fortunately for someone like yourself, I mean, that's your field. And there's nothing in the world you can talk about without, having economy come in here or there.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Yeah, and this is a burden on economists, because at the end of the day, if you are an economist, you have to be very frank and unbiased. So anyway, going back to the aspects, marine aspects, number one, very important is what we call marine resource management, where we can help to evaluate the sustainable management of marine resources and all the different, by applying economic principles, of course. Second aspect is what we call the fisheries economics. And this subfield focuses on the economic dynamics of the fishing industry, examining issues like supply and demand for seafood, pricing, labor, and the impact of fishing quotas and subsidies. It also considers cost of illegal fishing, which is very important in a country like Egypt, but that's a different subject. And then another aspect also is the maritime trade and shipping economics. Oceans support a significant portion of global trade, of course. Economic analysis is applied to understand shipping costs, logistics, port infrastructure, and international trade policies. We cannot...
The Suez Canal.
Exactly, that's exactly what I wanted to say. We cannot skip this point without mentioning the importance of the Suez Canal, not only for Egypt, but I would say for
world trade.
For the world trade. Thank you very much. Another aspect is coastal tourism, which we have already covered earlier, so I will not stop much here. Another aspect is marine renewable energy, which we also somehow touched. Another aspect is the climate change and ocean economics, rising sea levels, and that's a problem with Alexandria, or challenge, if I may say, the rising sea levels and changing marine ecosystems that have significant implications for coastal communities and industries, and how to quantify the potential cost of climate change, such as flood damages, relocation, loss of biodiversity, guiding policy decisions for adaptations and resilience. Another very important aspect, of course, is the ocean pollution control, like plastics, oil spills, and this is something that we really are trying to control, and we study the impact of pollution on the ecosystems, tourism, and fisheries. We can add another important aspect also, which is the aquaculture and what we call marine biotechnology. And then, very important, the policy and regulations that the government should impose on any marine activities. By integrating all these aspects and principles with the marine science, this field will support sustainable management of marine resources, promotes economic development in coastal regions, and protects, of course, marine ecosystems.
Dr. Hamid, what's the future, in your view, of the South or the developing countries, as many of them continue to struggle with poverty and environmental challenges? So what's their future? How can they improve their future through something like taking care of urban areas, protecting the environment. I mean, the South, the struggling countries, how important is it for them to start moving, or to continue to move, or move at a faster pace in developing their urban areas?
That's another very deep question, which will require also, I don't know how many meetings like this one, but I would try to summarize it in what is very basic is, first of all, to establish a system, policy making. So number one is, if we speak about the South, which means developing or less developed country, number one is to have a system. And a system means a democratic system. And here I'm speaking about democracy from a management standpoint, management of the country and management of the micro as well. So it's very important to establish, number one, democracy in management, in decision making, on the level of the institution, on the level of the government, of course, and something else, which is good governance in business. Good governance in business. If you establish these, and it's not anymore, it's a system, not a one-man show. So this is the basic for any country to develop. Number two, which is very important, and again, even for a country like Egypt, you cannot develop without emphasizing two things: industries and agriculture. This is because if let's take the example of Egypt, for example. We had two very important stops that really, in the path of history of Egypt, that really represented a jump in economic development. The first jump in the recent history was Muhammad Ali. Thank you very much. Exactly. Yes, it was focused on military industries, but this was a big jump in the history of economic development of the country. And the second jump was who? It was Talat Harb. Another emphasis on industry. And it's always that agriculture is supporting industry and is feeding industry from agricultural product, like during Talat Harb, for example, the industries related to textiles, it was based on cotton. So without having in the backbone agriculture supporting a jump in industry, then any country, developing country, will not really succeed in achieving a real economic development. So to go back, from one level, democracy and governance, and supported by agriculture and industries. There was another step in the history of Egypt, but unfortunately it did not succeed, because we have Muhammad Ali and then Talat Harb.
Almost 100 years between them, right?
Of course.
So it's about time. It's just about time.
It's about time, but let me just mention something quickly. The third trial, but it did not succeed, like Muhammad, the beginning of the 60s. I don't want to mention names here, but the beginning of the 60s, what we had the first 5-year plan and the second, and unfortunately it fell apart with 67. Exactly. Yeah. So this is economics, and we're speaking about something that.
So what we're doing today, I mean, is it on the road to having this next big jump?
I hope so. I hope so. We're still concentrating on other fields, but industries is not what it is supposed to be. It has to be boosted. Agriculture is unfortunately losing ground. So yeah, I think we need it. This is the time now.
You stress on some very, very important points. So first, you want to triple the spending on education and healthcare,
of course,
and then focus on industry and having the agriculture backing you, so that we might see another big, huge leap, like we saw with Muhammad Ali, nicknamed, of course, the builder of modern Egypt, and then Talat Harb.
Yeah, but please, let's stop taking the example of Dubai and the Emirates, because I mean, even in our classification, we have something called developed world, which is developed countries. We have developing countries. We have underdeveloped countries. we have less developed countries, and we have least developed countries. And then we have something called oil-rich Arab countries.
Right.
This is separate.
Right.
So let's
and our economy is totally different.
It's totally different.
And it's very diversified, by the way, isn't it?
Of course.
I mean, we have everything here in Egypt.
We can. We used to. Yeah, but now we're losing a little bit of ground. But this is what we call the horizontal balance of any economy.
So let's keep the diversity, but focus on education, healthcare, industry, and agriculture more.
And stress more industry and agriculture.
Okay. As we wrap up, I think we have 2 or 3 minutes left here, Dr. Hamid. So, World Cities Day. I mean, not optimistic. I want to say it gives hope. I mean, when we talk about Cities Day, the urban life that the world is going to live in. So I guess it's very important nowadays to tackle the many challenges facing urban life, especially if 60% and then 70% of the world will be living in urban areas. So we have a lot of challenges globally and here in Egypt, and also there is a lot of hope for a better future. How do you see them tipped against each other, the opportunities and the challenges?
Again, my focus tonight is about the youth. Okay, and Egypt has a very big potential when it comes to youth, because we are a young country when it comes to age distribution. So the idea is the policymakers now, how do you make prospects for the young people? I wouldn't say in the next 10 years or 20, no, in the next, starting from the next 5 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and so on. It is very important that we should start now planning for these people, because we are more than 100 million now. That's a big potential. It's a very big potential.
107.
107 million. And I don't know how many are living abroad, but
over 10 million. I think.
Maybe, yeah, more or less. The idea is, it's like the population could either be a great potential or the opposite.
Or a burden.
Or a burden. So let's focus on making the youth, the HR, the human resource of Egypt, the real potential of the future of the whole country. And
that's where spending on education comes, clearly as a top priority.
And health, please. It's very important.
Okay. It's been a pleasure. Dr. Amr Hamid, Professor of Economics and Economic Consultant, and hope to see you again soon here on Nile TV.
It's my pleasure. You always make our discussion challenging.
Thank you, Dr. Hamid. Thank you very much. And thank you, dear viewers, for watching us. Please stay with Nile TV.